What is up, everybody? Welcome to a brand new episode of Brady's Peach Tea, episode 120 for those who are counting. And yeah, we're opening up with New Divide from Linkin Park, which is the main song in Transformers Revenge of the Fallen, which is our movie of the week. We will probably decide whether it is or isn't a movie. Stay tuned to figure that one out. But yeah, we're continuing our run of the Michael Bay era of Transformers movies. And thanks for joining us on this Wednesday evening. If you're joining us on the Facebook live stream, if you're joining us on YouTube or Twitter or Instagram or wherever you found your audio-only podcast, we always appreciate it. And with me always is Jason. Jason, what's up? Jason, that might be having some technical difficulties. It seems to be frozen for a second. But yeah, we're excited to get into it. We're also going to have our spoiler discussion of Secret Invasion episode 4. That's it. So a little bit of a light schedule for us. But with the CW shows and gone, and my Adventures of Superman not dropping until tomorrow night. Yeah, this is what we got this week. So check us out. Also, if you are checking us out on Facebook, make sure during this broadcast to send us some stars. There are digital gifts that helps us earn money for Pop Culture Pros because we are presented by PopCulturePros.com. And it's always good to support the mothership as well. So that's how we get to bring the show live every single week. So, and he is back. What's up, Jason?
All right, Ed. Sorry, guys. No idea what happened. My internet went down just as we were getting in. But here I am. Cheers to you all. I've moved rooms. My apartment's a mess, but here it is.
So, Jason, what's up? What have you been up to this week?
Oh, so my family's been away. So my wife and my child have been away. I've been living like a real bachelor, Ed. I've been going to the museum. Been seeing Mission Impossible with you. I've been I did karaoke with some friends. I cleaned a great deal of the apartment. There's a reason I'm not single anymore. I don't do single well. Like the most offensive thing I've done is start drinking a bit too early and play a bit too many video games. Like I'm not a good single guy. But here I am. That's what I've been up to.
Okay. Yeah, we did get to see just not exactly comic book stuff, but yeah, we did get to see Mission Impossible Dead Reckoning Part 1. Should we talk about it for a minute or so? Like just a brief thing since it's a little out of our preview?
We could talk about it. Yeah. I mean, Ed, what were your overall thoughts? Do you want me to start?
You can start off with this one. Go ahead. What did you think?
So I watch every time I watch one of these movies, I go, that's real fun. Like that's exactly what I walked at last night. There is nothing negative you can levy at this movie that I wouldn't go, yeah, but it was so fun, and I think that's how I feel about all of the ones I've seen. It's like, yeah, well, people really can't do that. Yeah, but did you see it? It was so fun. And I don't know the fact that like these movies continue to be so much fun. We were talking about it last night. It's amazing that we are like 8 or 9 deep into this franchise, and I watch it and I still go, "Oh my god, that was exciting!"
Yeah, so I loved it. I absolutely loved it. It might be my favorite movie of the year.
Wow.
No, it is. It's definitely up there. I mean, we talked about this last night, and I'm sure I've said this on here before. Mission Impossible is like my favorite action franchise ever. It's just, I'm amazed by it every single time. I enjoy the stories. I enjoy the espionage stuff. It doesn't need to be overly complicated espionage or spy stuff. Like, they don't really like collapse on themselves like some of these things do, where other films try to get way overcomplicated and the plot collapses on itself. Revenge of the Fallen, but it's just, I don't know. I just love it, and I respect the hell out of Tom Cruise. Man, the guy just lives to entertain, and he does a lot of these stunts, and especially getting up there in age like he is now, he loves it. The cast seems to love it. So I have nothing bad to say about it. I can't wait to see it again. I'm going to see it again, but on IMAX next time, and I know it's shot in IMAX, so I'm really looking forward to that. And I would highly recommend it. Again, it's a little bit off of our beaten path, but Jason and I do see and watch other shows and movies that are not comic book related. Believe it or not.
No, very true, very true. Actually, I clamor for them because I watch so much comic book stuff now for this show. Like, I, I, I used to be very particular. I used to be like, yes, that's a movie I shall see in the theater, and that is a peasant movie I shall wait till it comes on cable. And now I have to see everything. I have to watch shit like Gotham Knights. So I clamor for non-comic book stuff, and this really fucking delivered, man. This was a lot of fun.
Yeah, and I also finished Reacher this week on Amazon Prime Video, which came out last year. I know they got a season 2, but I was a bit behind because of all the stuff we watched for this show, and also my live sports I love so much.
Yeah.
Reacher's awesome. I really enjoyed Reacher. So I love that. Speaking of the connection with Tom Cruise, Tom Cruise did the 2 Jack Reacher movies that were in the film, that were in theaters. First one was great. Despise the second one. Second one, never. Jack Reacher, Never Go Back. I think Tom Cruise should have listened to that advice and never gone back, because that movie blows. It really does. But I will say the Reacher series, 2 thumbs up. The dude that was Hawk in Titans, he's actually Jack Reacher in this series.
Oh shit! Okay, I can see that. He's like a fucking beefy, manly man.
Yeah, exactly. And apparently in the books, Reacher is like this massive dude. So he actually fits the bill a bit more than Tom Cruise does. So that's cool. And, if you're into the books and stuff like that, I mean, I guess he'd be more accurate to the description of Jack Reacher. So there's also that. Still yet a connection to something that we covered on Granny's Peach Tea anyway.
We've always got to keep it connected. We are a consistent podcast here.
Yeah, and in Mission Impossible: Dead Reckoning Part 1, Haley Atwell is in it, who is Peggy Carter in the MCU, and also and Mantis, and the actress that plays Mantis is in Mission Impossible as well. So there are MCU connections still.
Palm Clementine, which I actually really liked her. I liked her a lot, and I mean, we're not doing a spoiler thing, but I that's why I won't say anything. But I liked her. I like seeing her doing non-Mantis things because I think she is a really good actress and she's very unique looking, like Uma Thurman, Whereas I think that if she got the right roles, she could really stand out and really do her own thing. And I hope that happens for her because I like her a lot.
No, agreed. So I guess it's from us 2 thumbs up for Mission Impossible: Dead Reckoning Part 1. Check that out if you haven't. I know it just dropped. It actually officially comes out today. Last night was the preview night, so.
Yeah. Oh shit! I saw this opening night and I didn't even realize it.
No, because I think it threw you off that it was a Tuesday.
It did, yeah. That's why I was like, "Oh, we're seeing it too." Because I remember I texted you in a panic, like, "Wait, we're seeing this on a Thursday." I fucked up. I can't do that. I have plans, and you're like, "Nah, it's cool. We're seeing it on a Tuesday." And it's like, "Oh, fuck, good." And I thought to myself, "Oh, I thought we were seeing it opening night. Really good, we're not." But best of both worlds, I got to see it on opening night and not cancel my Thursday plans. So that was awesome.
Yeah, it all worked out. If I didn't have originally had softball scheduled on Monday night, otherwise there was a preview screening that night in IMAX, which I wanted to push it further, but scheduling and the weather canceled the game, and then by the time I tried to scramble for tickets, they were already gone. So this movie looks like it's going to do massive at the box office too. So
as well, it should. It's really good.
Yeah. All right, let's get into our regular stuff then. We got Secret Invasion Episode 4, which dropped earlier today on Disney Plus. Let me drop that spoiler ticker across the bottom because this is definitely day of release. So if you have not seen Secret Invasion Episode 4, then click off. We're giving you a warning now because we're going to spoil the shit out of this episode.
And this is spoiler alert. Yes. If you're watching this show and you want to actually be surprised, don't listen to this because big shit happens.
Yeah, and if you don't care about spoilers, then rock on.
Yeah, and hey, rock out with your cock out, my friends. or whatever you're packing, all right?
Yeah, whatever you got, rock with it.
Sorry, it's summer, guys. It's summer. I'm on summer. I apologize.
All right. Well, it doesn't matter. No apologies needed because I'm definitely going to probably drop something on when we get to a certain part of Secret Invasion. So, all that speculating we did at the end of last week's episode,
We were right.
she is dead.
Oh, we're talking about her. I thought we were talking about the other one. Okay.
No, not yet with that. We were right about
Okay.
that. But the first part, so the episode opens up with
Yeah.
Gaia pretty much is alive, and we didn't get the
Which-
whole Abigail Brand thing. She still could be copying Abigail Brand. That we have no idea. She's copying somebody, maybe someone of significance. We have no idea. But she's alive. She apparently she's a super Skrull also, because she has Extremis in her, and that's how she healed herself. And they do show a little flashback of her injecting herself with that.
Yeah, I was okay with that. Like I was like, all right, it sucks because I thought we were talking about consequences, right? The show should have consequences. And I'll talk more about like how we now know it can't have the consequences I wanted it. We thought it would have, or I thought it would have, and at the end. But having said all that, like I'm okay with her coming back because it sets up. It wasn't just hey, needless. She's just back because hey, that was Daenerys, right? It was more like no, this is a way to set up the Extremis, right? Like we bookend this episode with that. Like we see her survive because she gave herself the Super Skrull Extremis, and at the end we see Gravik survive for a similar reason. And I was like, okay, that's cool because that beginning was showing us that they could survive this. It established and foreshadowed what happens at the end of the episodes, and it also, like, I'll be honest with you, for me, for right now, it puts to rest if who she is copying is someone important. Because if she's still alive, then no, it doesn't necessarily mean that. Like, it's only if this Skrull character dies and this actress is so big, does it mean for me, she might come back as someone else. But I don't see her coming back as the sword
Abigail Brand.
person.
Yeah.
Abigail Brand. Yeah, I don't see that unless this Skrull version really dies and early enough in the show, which I think we might be passing soon, for it to really matter. So yeah, that's my kind of take on that.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I kind of wanted her to be Abigail Brand, and I was hoping that was the case, but at least not yet, or apparently just not at all. It could have just been like somewhat of another misdirect. And we said last week we've enjoyed this show keeping us on our toes again, kind of like back in the WandaVision days, where every week it was week to week. We're guessing, we're right, we're wrong. It's not easy to predict, so I'm enjoying that part of it.
Me
But
too.
then we flash back to 2012 when shortly after the invasion of New York, and Nick Fury kind of goes back to Paris, and then he has this meeting with his wife, and his wife had mentions she has a newspaper, which I'm assuming was in French, and they have a quick conversation about we knew somebody would inspire and bring these people together to defend Earth, and she's not surprised that it's Fury, and then he talks with her about it. We get Nick Fury, eye patch, black jacket, very, Avengers Nick Fury. And they have a conversation that also involves some poetry there, and that she's reading. And it does come to call back later on in the episode where the poem is beloved, and she wants to be, apparently aspires to be beloved, could basically with Fury, and wants to be, a relationship and everything like that. So I thought that was a nice touch to establish and foreshadow a conversation that they have a little bit later on in the episode, because we get some crazy stuff after that. Jason, you got anything further to elaborate on that scene?
No, not really. I mean, I thought it was. I thought the whole thing was cool about the poem. I really have I actually, when it comes back later, I want to talk about that because I thought it was really interesting that when Fury comes home, and I'm not going to spoil. I'll let you, talk about what he finds out about. But their wall, her wall, essentially, because it's her apartment, is covered in ancient Greek chorus masks, which they all like smiling and frowning and all different configurations of the face. And I thought that was really awesome kind of symbolism in the background because she's a Skrull and can become whatever she wants. So that was kind of what I wanted to point out, but that's a scene that kind of comes later.
Yeah, we'll get to that quickly in a second. But I agree. That was also really cool and symbolic of what she's able to do. So then we get to the meeting at the church, which was teased in at the very end of the last episode with Fury's wife and Rhodey, because Rhodey was the one who was on the phone. So they meet up, and pretty much we find out that, Rhodey, because we do find out, whatever, we're talking spoilers. So Rhodey is a Skrull. And
we were right. We both called that.
Yeah, we were both 100% nailed that one. And actually, by the way, Rick may or may not be joining us, but he can take his victory lap on Gia being alive, because that was his take last week.
You're right. So. You're right. Rick gets Rick, come on, you get a victory lap. Come on.
Exactly. So Rhodey pretty much orders Fury's wife to kill him, to assassinate Fury, and she's pushing back against it. She's like, we do find out she still cares very deeply about Nick Fury, but she's kind of putting on a little bit of a front here with Scrolly, or Scrody, if you want to call him.
Scrolly, I like that.
So it sounds a little, bless you. Sounds a little bit like scrotum, so I don't know if I was going to go with that. Bless you. So,
hey, sorry.
Yeah, so she pretty much tells Scrody, dude, you don't need to kill this guy. He's not the guy. He's not dangerous anymore. She starts with the piling on like everyone else was, but as a front. I don't think she's really fully buying that, though.
I agree, but it was sad to hear it, especially because we see that Nick Fury is listening, and she's saying some terrible shit, oh, he's not the same, so he cracked from the blip. If this was the old Nick Fury with the power, I'd be worried, but this guy can't do anything. And I'm like, and again, this is kind of where, this is where it starts for me, where I kind of get pissed off that I know Fury can't die in this. Not pissed off that he's not going to, because whether he does or he doesn't, that's what the writers did. I'm pissed off that I know he doesn't, because so much is pointing to that he should. And even this, even his wife saying this, and even if she doesn't mean it, it's him all right, I gotta become my old self. And and I don't know, the fact that I now know he doesn't die because he's in the Marvels, it just bums me out.
Unless we're getting misdirected again.
I hope so. I hope they fucking have misdirected us so much where he dies at the end of this, and in the Marvels it's some kind of flashback or something, and I'm left just with my jaw agape.
Yeah, anything's possible. We've also been misdirected in various MCU trailers before, so who knows if this is just the latest one. It would be pretty damn clever if that is the case. I mean, everyone remembers the Avengers Infinity War, Hulk running with the team. I mean, while he never changes into the Hulk the entire movie. After the battle with Thanos in the beginning. So that's, I don't know. I don't want to throw too much stuff in there. This show's got us all over the place and paranoid about being misdirected all over the place. Then we can go ahead and kind of fast forward to Talos meeting up with Jaya, and she pretty much is asking for his plan, because apparently he has not revealed what his plan is. And she's like, well, Gravik has revealed his plan, and it's working. And Talos reveals to her, listen, my plan is to stop Gravik along with Fury and go to the U.S. president and just show who we are. Show our hearts, show that we're good, that we're contributing. And in return, we're going to kind of ask for some asylum for our people, because her concern is the problem still exists. We are a people without a planet or a space or anything. We're just hiding amongst some other race here. And she even asked him, "Don't you ever want to like live as yourself, not always as this random person that you're impersonating?" And kind of what we all have to do here. And she calls him delusional at one point and says, "You're completely like." She walks away from him, like, "This is your plan. This is it." Like, not buying it. And there's an important line here where he is trying to really drive home the fact that we need to show who we are. We're good people. And Jai is like, "No, we're not. That's not really who we are." So I thought that was a really interesting line there.
I do too, and I think it's kind of indicative by their actions. Like,
Mhm.
we talk about how, yeah, Nick Fury fucked up, and this is why this is happening. But also, if you look at it, like, well, okay, one man fucked up, and these million scrolls who have been kind of unofficially been given asylum on this planet have decided to eradicate the Earth or the speed, the human race to take it over. It's like that's that's not good actions. Like, even if you are desperate, even if you want to survive, like, I don't know, is genocide ever really a viable option? And that's what they're imposing. So I think that's reflective of that. I think it's also cool because it gives us the opportunity for scroll villainy in the future that is a lot more like the comic book than the MCU scrolls have been set up. So I think it does a couple of things.
Agreed. Um, so then one of the coolest scenes I think we get in this episode is Fury goes ahead and confronts his wife, then comes home, doesn't have his wedding ring on, and has this like heartbreaking like reveal to her, like pretty much just saying that you are the biggest mistake I've ever made, and I've made a lot of them.
Yep.
And revealing immediately he knows what's up, what's going on here. They're sitting at a table across from each other, and then he's even like, there's a whole conversation in the conversation. It's who she was copying this entire time, and it's a Dr. Priscilla Davis, so we can refer to as Priscilla because they haven't really like given her name too much. So I guess we can just refer to her as Priscilla. And I'm sorry, and she reveals she also took this form to get close to Fury and get past his defenses. And Fury questions, "Well, you've been playing the long game with me this entire time? Like, you've been planning to kill me for this many years?" And she kind of pushes a little bit back against that. And he asks her, "Did you get everything you wanted from this life?" Because the person that she's copying was also dying, of a terminal illness. And she reveals there was 3 promises that she made to this person. One was to be buried at sea, did that. 2 was to still be a daughter to her parents, did that. And 3 was to never harm Nick Fury. And she pretty much reveals right there she's not going to do it. But then they kind of count down, and they both have guns in hand, and they both purposely miss each other right past that at the exact same time. Like a quick draw happens. And it was kind of like a thing like we don't really want to kill each other despite what's been just laid on the table right now.
And in that scene, what Fury does, again, symbolically, going back to what I said before, he shoots one of the masks and breaks it, ultimately like revealing the true self. And what they reveal to each other is, because he says to her, like as you said before, he says to her, "You're my biggest regret, but I don't think I'd ever." What you missed was he says, "I wouldn't change a thing."
Yeah.
Like, I don't think I would change anything I did, even though even if I knew it was coming to this point. And that was before he knows she's not going to kill him. And then after, when they both don't kill each other, it's like that's them for the first time in their entire relationship showing their true face because they never trusted each other, but they loved each other. And this was a moment of trust. And I again, symbolically, I think it's a really cool moment.
And she asks Fury as he's leaving, "Would you have loved me if it was my true self the entire time?" He doesn't answer the question. He just says, "Well, we'll never know," and walks out. Pretty heartbreaking scene.
Right. And I think it's a great, but I think that's a great response though, because you could read it as "we'll never know." No, of course not. You're green and ugly. But I don't think that's how he means it. I think the way he
Yeah.
means it is you never gave me the chance to know. Like, you came to me in this form. That's how I met you. We'll never know because I never met you in the other form because you chose this form to get to me. You didn't come to me as yourself. And I honestly, I think that's how he means it.
Agreed. Agreed. And it's a lot deeper than what is given on the surface.
100%.
So we find out it appears like there is a female scroll of some sort that's copying Rhodey, because we get a scene where it opens up and the scroll's taking a shower. So that's there, but then kind of wipes the mirror and it's revealed to morphs back into Rhodey. And it turns out Fury broke into the apartment and sits down, has a 21-year-old glass of bottle of bourbon there that he's willing to share as a peace offering.
That's not just any bourbon. I've had that, my friend. As a bourbon, whiskey, scotch guy, I have had 21-year-old Pappy Van Winkle because a good friend of mine got it for his wedding and he shared some with me. It's no joke. It's the smoothest fucking bourbon you will ever have. It is so good. And watching them drink this, and I'm like, well, I get this on levels other people don't. This is a true event right here. If someone broke into my apartment and went, yes, I broke into your apartment, but I brought a bottle of Pappy Van Winkle, I'd be like, I don't know who you are, and you're probably going to kill me, but I forgive you. Let's drink.
At least I'm going out in style, right?
Right. Look, I'm going out drinking some, and it's expensive. It's like $1,000 a bottle. It's no joke.
Yeah, I think Fury does state that in the episode.
I think he does. Yeah.
Yeah. So Fury's pretty much saying, "Listen, I'm here to bury the hatchet, and this Skrull Rhodey is kind of trying to go around that. Why are you really here?" And Fury lays it down and says, "Listen, there's a Skrull very close to the president. How close? As close as we're sitting." So
fucking beautiful.
Saying I know who you, I know what's up without actually saying you know what's up is exactly what's happening at this moment. And he says, "Listen, I can keep all of this quiet and not get any kind of paranoia going if you give me my job back." And this is the whole thing we find out as a diversion because he's implanting a tracker in that bourbon and just trying to get Skrull Rhodey to drink it, who keeps dancing around it until he hits him with a bombshell there to totally distract him, and he goes ahead and chugs it then.
But let me ask you something. Did you ever think that that's what fucking Nick Fury was angling for, his job back? This was obviously a setup.
No, listen, he laid it down. He's Nick Fury. He's out.
Yeah.
He's in. That doesn't matter. It doesn't matter whether he's employed or not.
No, he's just going there because he's like, I'm gonna start some shit. I have to figure out. I have to figure out where fake Rhodey is going and follow him and do what needs to be done.
Yeah. So
I love, by the way, that Skrull Rhodey finishes that bottle of Pappy. Like Skrull Rhodey's like, all right, Fury, get the fuck out of here, but I'm gonna keep this, and then turns on TV and starts drinking. To the point where the president, which I love the scene, because the president was, when he sees him, Rhodey's like, I suggest you do this, beat me firm with the Russians. And he's giving him shitty advice because the whole plan is to turn the Americans against the Russians. And the president just goes, did you drink half a bottle of bourbon before we get to this meeting? Someone get Colonel Rhodes a mint. Like, I thought it was hysterical.
Oh, no, he's suggesting get Colonel Rhodes a large coffee. He refers like, "No, I just need a mint. I'm not fucking drunk." Well, right. The president's also picking up on. He's got some bizarre behavior going on there.
Right. But I also do think it's funny that it was predicated around like the fact that he just because obviously Skrulls don't get drunk because he did just drink a fucking bottle of bourbon. But I just love that. I don't know why I thought it was so funny. Like he just thought he was drunk.
Oh, I thought it was great too, and also. So Skrull Rhodey shows this video, by the way, and apparently that he made a bunch of copies of Gravik, who was, Fury at the time, killing Maria Hill, and pretty much saying, well, I'm going to turn you in, I'm going to show this footage, here's the evidence you killed Maria Hill. Not a good look for you. and also that helps Fury lead to make him think that he's got the upper hand. Meanwhile, he really does because he got him to drink the liquid tracker. All right, so apparently for the last moment, we do have our guest has arrived, and we're bringing.
All right.
We've seen him before on the episode. We got Rick. Rick, what's up, man?
Rick.
What's up, fellas?
What's going on? Figure we get you in right before what you said was on a conversation we had was your favorite scene in any of the MCU shows in a while.
Oh yeah.
So
can you hear me?
Yeah, we got you.
Fine. Cool.
All right.
What's up, boys? What's up, Jason? Long time no hear.
Well, I think you hear us. All right, 1 second.
I can hear Rick. You can't hear Rick, Ed?
No, I can hear everybody. I'm good.
Okay.
All right. So
how do you like the tea?
Nice. You made that one, right? Yeah.
Huh? Yeah, I made this one. This is what was written in Hawkeye on top of the toilet. That Thanos was right.
Yeah, that was a thing going on. So.
I love when I wear it around and people notice it and they're like, he was right.
Right. So that brings us to early in the episode. We see that Gravik is leading this group of Russians to go ahead and to start their shit here. And Rhodey, Skrull Rhodey, goes ahead and tips them off exactly which one of the barricade or the transport has the president in it, and referring to him as the Citadel. And that's where shit really starts hitting the fan. Like they're in Gravik's in helicopters with these Russians. They launch their attack on the presidential transport. Shit's hitting the fan. Guns blazing all over the place. Fury and Talos show up to try to assist because they need to, attempt. They know what's going on here. And then some crazy shit really starts to go down here. So the president is flipped over and unconscious in his car. Talos is banging on his window trying to get him out. Ends up getting shot in the process. Is like turning half, back to his regular form as he's trying to save him. Still trying to get the mission complete. Serving to what he was telling Jaya earlier in the episode. They're like, people are going to see this, and other soldiers are seeing this. And even one of them shouts out like, "Oh, there's an alien!" And Fury's like, "No, he's with me. He's good. He's good." And then they end up getting the president out of there. And while Talos is shot, he's kind of going down there for a second. Fury takes the president, gets him to safety unconscious. But then the soldier that does pick up Talos, Fury gives him one look and already knows that something's off about him. And it's revealed that it's Gravik. Gravik goes ahead, uses his root ability that we see him use in this battle earlier in the episode, where his arm goes flying out kind of like Groot and stabs Talos right through what you would assume would be his heart area. I don't know the whole thing with Skrulls. I'm assuming they have some sort of heart, I guess, in the same place. And kills Talos, essentially. And Fury loses his shit, shoots Gravik in the face. He heals through Extremis, takes off. But then one thing I thought was really interesting is that the way Fury looks at Talos' body, of course in anguish and shock and disbelief, but kind of gives an interesting look there where I don't know if he thinks he's going to be okay and then kind of takes off with the president. And that's where abruptly the episode ends.
Unless he's thinking, well, let's get him some Extremis.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking, that he thinks he's got something up his sleeve to cure him. Rick doesn't look like he's buying that. So, Rick, what do you think?
I'd assume you'd, first off, Jason, me and Eddie jabbered a little bit about this episode earlier. When Gravik got shot in the face, it was like Terminator 2 for me. Was I going crazy with that whole vibe?
Nope, I got that.
All right. Yeah, I was like, oh, T-1000, let's go. And Fury shouldn't have told him to put him down, because then he did. So he was only following orders for me in that scene. But I think for someone to be a super soldier, I think he would have needed to have taken the medication before the illness in this point. With Gaia, she preemptively took it and then she found out how it worked. I think in this situation, I don't think you can take a dead Skrull, throw him in a machine, and revive him. I think it's too little too late by that point. I think we actually took a Marvel loss here. So I think that Talos is literally the third person to die in the MCU ever and actually stay dead. That's
No, I don't know. I genuinely don't know. Like, I don't know if next episode we're going to find Talos on an operating table and they're trying to revive him with some shit. I mean, I wouldn't be shocked either way at this point because we thought we got an earlier thing. It seems like Hill is dead. Like, Maria Hill seems to be dead, apparently.
I think we could all agree on that.
Yeah, I think she's like
Yeah.
dead.
And I hope so, because again, consequences. It's not that I don't love that character or that actress, but consequences. And I'd like to see the show have some.
Yeah, agreed. I would also hope that, and I like Talos a lot. We spent a lot of time with him at this point. I do hope the character is dead because, again, for consequences' sake, I hope maybe they try to revive him. It doesn't work. That's possibly one thing that one way this could go. But I'm leaning towards I'm hoping that that's the case again for the sake of consequences.
Before we get off of this, so we saw Gaia didn't die. Mm-hmm. So the person that she's impersonating that we don't know is still out there. What if the person that she's impersonating ends up becoming Sue Storm, or ends up being Sue Storm?
I would not be a fan. No, I'm not with that at all.
Fantastic Four, man, they could still bring it back.
I know, but when Vanessa Kirby is the one who's being supposedly circling the project now, and after Margot Robbie was rumored to go with it, I don't know. I'm not seeing it personally. Jason?
I have to admit, I never thought of it, but Daenerys Stormborn as Sue Storm, I could get behind that. Just make her blonde. Just make her blonde.
There you go.
Yeah, I don't know.
I'm just trying to find a way to get the Fantastic Four out of this series. I feel like sooner we get the Fantastic Four, the sooner we get Galactus, the sooner we get Silver Surfer, the sooner I get all the things I want.
Oh, so this is all back to you just wanting Silver Surfer in the MCU. Because you've been planning this for a while now.
Yes. Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
If I can get backstage with Kevin, I would trade in half of the TV shows just to get a Silver Surfer appearance in anything.
Really? Just like a cameo?
Just a cameo.
Wow.
It could be a comet going right by.
So did you like Fantastic Four: Rise of the Silver Surfer? Because we actually, when we reviewed that movie, we said that was one of the bright spots, maybe the only bright spot of that movie.
Yeah.
Okay. So you got somewhat of a feel of it.
He was the only thing I liked about the movie, and they showed enough of him that I enjoyed the movie. Okay. However, the Galactus Cloud thing, that's a terrible idea, the Galactus Cloud thing.
That was terrible. That was shit.
It's such a killer for that movie. And we also saw Super Skrulls in that movie, or a Super Skrull-ish thing in that movie. Yeah, remember Johnny becomes like Super Skrull at the end of the movie?
Oh, right. You're right.
Yeah, not really. You know what I mean? Whatever. They went for whatever they had the rights to, I'm assuming. Let's dance around them and not call them a Skrull. It's okay.
Right. We have the right to Skrulls or the word super, so let's just make Johnny all fourth Fantastic Four, eh?
Eh?
That's the way to do it. I've never read a comic book. Just do it. It's Michael Bay-ish.
Oh, that's a good transition then. So, all right. So whatever. We'll talk about episode 5 next week. We will transition. Keep the guesses going. That for Secret Invasion, but we will get to our movie of the week here, which we've been counting down with Transformers: Rise of the Beast being such a big hit. I've got my Maximal shirt on here, which has an Autobot logo on it, which I kind of thought was a cool crossover. A movie that we all enjoyed. We decided to take a look back at the Michael Bay era of Transformers. It's loosely connected with it, and that was it. So we got Transformers: Revenge of the Fallen, which was the second film in that run. Last week we covered Transformers 2007. All right.
All right, but before we get into this, Ed, I want you to really, really consider this question, okay? If I told you very earnestly that I shut this movie off 20 minutes in and instead watched the James Cameron masterpiece Terminator, and I could argue that the Terminator franchise is more of a Transformer franchise than these fucking miserable Michael Bay movies, can we call it quits on this and just do the Terminator? I mean, think about it. Just think about it.
I mean, I love the first two Terminators. I love them. And I said
you didn't like Genesis?
No. We actually mentioned the Genesis last week briefly.
We did.
We ironically did. And I'm an apologist for the sequels after that suck and don't suck. I think Salvation isn't as bad as some people make it out to be. I think it's.
Yeah, I agree. I quite like the one where John Connor gets capped like 10 seconds in, and it's old Van Arnold with a wife. I actually really like that one.
No, Dark Fate is good. Dark Fate is better than a lot of people give it
Dark
credit
Fate,
for.
yeah, I like Dark Fate.
Dark Fate is solid. Genesis is bad, even though I will say Emilia Clarke as Hamilton, as Sarah Connor, I enjoyed. Terminator 3 is a very mixed bag. It has some really, really terrible parts, but overall, it's not terrible. It's okay.
That's the one with the chicken.
I agree. So let's just cover that. All right, we're agreed. Let's cover that.
Okay. Maybe another time. For Terminator, I could probably stop after the second one, but all right. Listen.
All right.
Transformers: Revenge of the Rick. Did you get through the whole movie or not?
You know, I couldn't even tell you because the storyline just fucking kept going and going and going.
Okay.
So right. I think that
you think you finished it?
I finished the movie when like there were the pyramids and the sun or something, and then the thing was happening, and then like there was a thing again, and there was another thing. So I think I made it through the movie. Who knows? Who knows at this point?
Rick,
all I know is the first 40 minutes of the movie could have been cut out, and it could have just started from when they picked up when Megatron and Prime had their fight. Like the first 40 minutes of the movie are completely like unnecessary.
Rick, are you actually suggesting here for a moment? Now, correct me if I'm wrong. Are you suggesting that Mojo humping the new dog repeatedly in various scenes was unnecessary?
Yeah, you know what? I'll even tack something onto that. The father and the mother's innuendo the whole time.
Bit unnecessary?
Yeah. Okay. What else? The gratuitous shots of the girlfriend and then Megan Fox, changing her outfit.
Yeah. Again, I'm not complaining about seeing
nothing
Megan
added
Fox.
to the story.
Yeah, but is it unnecessary for the film? Absolutely.
It's the hypersexualization of the Transformer franchise by Michael Bay really confused me, especially since I didn't watch the first movie recently.
Okay.
So like I walked into
wait. Rick, you mean to tell me that as a kid you weren't whacking it to the old Transformers cartoon? I mean, come on, weren't we all according to these Michael Bay movies?
I mean, I was thinking about it, but it didn't. You know, it wasn't necessarily Thundercats to me. So,
Cheetar in a leotard is fucking hot.
That's what I'm saying.
Man, hopefully Michael Bay never gets his hand on Thundercats, because I mean, who the hell knows what we'll end up with.
If I ever hear Michael Bay if he's even thinking about besmirching Thundercats, I will assassinate the man myself. I'm kidding. Do not come and arrest me. That was a joke.
Okay, so let's briefly go over what we'll play a game and try to describe the plot. You can joke like that. Try to describe the plot of Transformers: Revenge of the Fallen. We can start off with Sam Witwicky is on his way going to college, and we find out there was a shard of the Allspark from the first film in the pocket of the same sweatshirt 2 years later that falls out. He makes physical contact with it, and it starts making him see all these crazy Transformers language and burns through the entire house. Starts creating random Decepticons again, and things start going haywire. Yet he made contact, way more contact with the Allspark at the end of the first movie, and nothing happened to him for 2 years later until he touches a shard of it. Is this accurate so far?
Yeah, you're correct, but you missed a big thing here, and that is ancient aliens, Ed. This movie starts with ancient fucking aliens. The guy with the hair is going, aliens? Because ancient aliens are here. But yes, you are correct. Everything you said about Witwicky.
Okay. And so Transformers apparently did not arrive in 2007. They were here eons before that. We find out,
They built
right?
the pyramids.
Yes, they built the pyramids. Even before what we saw in the first one with Megatron getting here and seeing Sam Witwicky's great-great-great-great-grandfather. We're going to peel it back even further for whatever the hell reasons that is, because that doesn't really hold too much of the plot of this movie either. And then we get parents' action that Rick mentioned. Mojo's humping everything. Shard and Sam's hood.
So much dog fucking. So much dog fucking. It's disgusting.
Not funny, completely unnecessary.
Exactly.
Like,
yes,
nobody
exactly.
likes seeing that shit.
Nobody wants to see that. Nobody.
I was telling Ed last night at the movie, the dog fucking is a literal motif of this movie because it happens in the beginning, and then it's followed up on with the same dogs later, and then we see like Sam like almost humping the fucking hot Decepticon chick, which we'll get to, and then we get like fucking Decepticons and Autobots, like smaller ones, humping each other. It's like, why is fucking animal sex a motif in my Transformers movie?
Let me answer that question for you, because I spoke with Helen yesterday, and she told me 20 years from now, when she's graduating with her master's degree in film, she's going to do her dissertation on this film, and we're all going to find out that this is Michael Bay's The Shining. So all of these little things, they're going to equal it. It's like, it's about Native Americans. It's about America. It's about Ukraine. It's about things that haven't even happened yet. He was discussing in 2009. So I just want to give you guys a glimpse into the future. Is the world just wasn't ready for this film when it came out, and we're still not ready for it yet. So we don't understand everything.
In 2023, I'm still not ready for it. And I hated this movie when I saw it on opening night in Atlas Park with TJ and Tim. And it was supposed to be a midnight screening because that's how it went down back then. And then for some reason, the movie started an hour late. And I was even more furious about it. And then I woke up the next day thinking about it. I had to ask Tim to confirm some things for me that I wasn't sure if I actually saw. And apparently they were all correct.
There are testicles in this film.
There are massive devastator testicles in this film. Wheelie is humping Megan Fox's leg, and there is constant dog humping throughout the movie. But having said that, though,
so much humping, so much dog humping. Sorry, that really upset me.
So when these random Decepticons are made by this random Char of the Allspark in the Witwicky household, crazy shit's going on, and nothing happens. Bumblebee doesn't react to any of this until Sam Witwicky decides to scream "Bumblebee" like he does about 50 times in this fucking movie, and then he decides to pop out of the garage and save the day, and then is sent back like a shameless dog or something back into the. What the fuck is going on here?
That's the worst part, okay? I was watching it, and it's like, all right, all this fucking weird Decepticon shit. Okay, I'm Chuck of Transformers because I have the fucking Allspark in my head, and I'm seeing fucking Transformers shit. Okay, fine. And he's like, oh, Bumblebee. And Bumblebee comes out and kicks ass and saves his life, and he goes, down, boy, back in there. You've wrecked the house. And it's like, what?
Yeah, I don't know.
In what universe is that logically cohesive?
No, none.
It's true. Didn't they fix Bumblebee's voice at the end of the first movie?
Yes. Then that gets forgotten in this movie again.
That's not
I guess
forgotten.
you would have had to
Bumblebee
watch the
actually,
first movie.
I can guess it.
Yeah, no, the
He
writers,
took
the writers of this movie who also wrote the first movie apparently did not watch the first movie.
No, he took a vow of silence. It's in the video game between the two.
Yeah, there you go. And Soundwave is revealed in this movie to be some weird thing that wraps itself around the satellite and then hacks the U.S. satellite that's there, which happens to very conveniently catch an exposition dump of what the hell the Autobots are doing and where the Allspark is by this random nerdy U.S. government guy in glasses who is in this movie for no apparent reason besides this one exposition dump.
I noticed he doesn't show up again. That was kind of strange.
No, he shows up in one other scene where he's there to like be sent off and pushed out of a plane on a parachute by some soldiers into a place God knows where, and that's it. That's what happens to him.
I think I'd be more okay with that character if it was played by Clint Howard.
And then we get the Witwicky parents eating edibles while they're visiting him at college for some bizarre reason.
All right, can I talk about this for a second?
Sure.
As a guy who has theoretically eaten things with that strain in them, okay? You know what you don't do? You don't go walking up to people and just go, my son likes to suck dick or whatever. Like, be embarrassing. Like, I mean, it's stupid as shit. She just goes right into it's like the person who fucking wrote this has never been stoned in their entire life. Because you know what that mother would be doing? She'd be sitting on a bench looking at her fucking boots going, are they moving? I'm not moving my feet. Are they moving? If she was that stoned, she wouldn't be like fucking data dumping about her son. It's the stupidest thing I've ever seen.
And then Optimus Prime seeks out Sam wherever he is on the East Coast, and they have this brief conversation. And then suddenly Sam just doesn't want to help, even though he knows that the Earth is in peril. And Prime is basically telling him, like, dude, we really need your help. We really need your help. And he's like, no, I'm good. I'm going to college. I'm okay. Just character consistency all over the fucking place. Suddenly, like, he doesn't want to be bothered with the Transformers unless he needs to scream Bumblebee to save his ass. I don't know.
How did Bumblebee not notice that he had a Decepticon sitting inside of him?
No fucking idea.
Great question.
Absolutely no
Great
idea.
question.
There are many things that don't make any sense in this movie. None.
And since when can they? So we saw the motorcycles were made holograms of humans.
Mm-hmm.
How come Autobots didn't just walk around as humans?
Rick, because it's only convenient for the plot that a Decepticon can make himself look like a human. That's exactly why.
They're not following Jason.
Yeah, that was one of my biggest problems about this movie.
It's Jason's rule.
No, it's a pretty solid rule.
They're not going by them.
Set up your own rules and go by them, but this movie goes by no rules at all of anything. Then we get creepy Rainn Wilson is in this movie for a cameo, some weirdly creepy fucking college professor that they allude that he might be sleeping with his students, but I don't know what he's doing in this movie.
They don't
was popular at the time, I guess. I don't know.
They don't allude to it. He literally fucking hits a girl in the head with an apple that he took a bite of and goes, finish that. And they're like, swooning like he's Elvis fucking Presley, that they're about to throw their panties. It's like, I don't know, man. I'm an educator. I've known a lot of college professors. That shit doesn't happen. I don't know what the hell that was.
I beg
Rainn
to
Wilson,
disagree,
what a weird
man.
choice.
When I was in
I
high
don't
school,
know.
I used to take these English classes with a guy that did all those same things while teaching the class. So, I'm gonna side with the Transformer movie on this one. In college, I never saw it.
And we all went to the same high school, for the record, by the way.
I was gonna say, for those not getting the joke, we all went to the same high school, which was a tiny high school, which meant we were all in the same fucking classes together. So we all know exactly what handsy grabby teacher he's talking about.
Yeah.
I don't know. Was he that slick though?
I'm
Was
not
that
saying he
slick?
would groom his students or anything, but you know, if someone
But he
were to
would.
accuse
But he
him
would
of
groom his
grooming
students.
student, right?
All right, so Sam also has a Bad Boys 2 poster in his room, which goes ahead and is another self-referential thing from Michael Bay. And then we get introduced to who was supposed to be Willie, who was a Decepticon, and the last time you saw Willie, he was in the 1986 Transformers movie and was very much an Autobot, and wasn't Steve Buscemi being voiced by him, and didn't just completely talk like, I don't know, constantly cursing and all this other crap. And then later on in the film ends up humping Megan Fox's leg.
Ah, yes. Classic Autobot behavior.
And that brings us to Decepticon chick. So the Decepticons need to get to Sam, and they have a Decepticon disguise themselves as some random hot chick in the college to get close to him.
Sorry.
It's weird.
This is the stupidest shit ever. Because, nowhere in these shitty movies have we ever seen a fucking Decepticon or Autobot scan a human being become them. And if they can, okay, fine. You're going to reveal in your shitty sequel that they can now do this. Why is it becoming random hot chick who's going to try to pretend to fuck with Wiki and steal what he needs? Why doesn't she just Terminator 2 it and kill his fucking parents, and that saves us 40 minutes of this piece of shit movie, and then become his parents and steal what she needs to steal? Again, Transformers, Terminator 2 gets Transformers more than Transformers 2 does. Just saying,
That's true.
I didn't just pull that out of my ass. I've been thinking a lot about it.
And where was Bumblebee during this entire thing? Is he just taking another nap? Was he in the garage, like, pouting or crying or something?
Well, doesn't Wiki tell him, like, I'm going to college, I'm not taking you with me, they don't let me, they don't want like your kind, cars. Like, he has this weird conversation with her.
But, Jason, Bumblebee shows up anyway. Like, later, what the fuck was he?
That's what confused me, is that
Good
it
point.
showed up anyway.
Yes. I don't know. I'm telling you, the writers lost track of characters again because they lost track of Prime. Yeah, exactly. The writers.
I'm pretty sure
they lost track of Prime
GPT
going
wrote this
into the
movie.
main scene, the main battle in the first movie, and apparently lost track of Bumblebee quite a few times in this movie. And then we get the battle in the woods, which is actually kind of a decent scene where Prime is battling a bunch of Decepticons and ends up getting murdered in this thing, which that scene was like, fine, whatever. It was a decent battle, but it still reinforces what we saw in Rise of the Beast, that, and we mentioned it last week, Michael Bay just doesn't know how to shoot a battle with massive big robots, because it still is like disconjointed and all over the place and hard to follow, which now suddenly it's much easier to follow. I mean, that just lands totally on the director, though.
But it's like Tim said, like, his process is, okay, and now you're going to just put this in the CGI. Pew, 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 pew.
That's
And we also get more of the twins. There's two Autobots in this movie who, one of them has golden caps, and they're punching each other and slapping each other and talking slang of some sort that nobody ever speaks. It was weird. They're talking about busting caps in each other's asses. What?
The racism in this movie is terrible, not just for that, but also for John Turturro, which I know we'll get to. But John Turturro says to someone, hey, you look like the guy who sells me falafel.
Yeah, I don't know, dude. I don't know. And I don't want to say, oh, this was a different time thing. This movie got shit when it came out for all of this stuff. I don't want to hear about that shit.
Time. Less than a decade ago, right? Like, or maybe less than 15 years ago. Lubricating, okay. But I mean, look, it doesn't matter, all right? Different time, my ass, all right? The 80s were a different time.
This movie got killed for it when it got released also. I remember that very clearly.
Yeah. Like, look, I will stand here and fucking defend some of the worst 80s, 90s movies on the basis of you got to look at it in context, and I don't condone it, but you have to understand the context. I will not do that with this. The context was it was 2011 or something, and the world had moved on from this shit.
Yeah, no, it's pretty rough. The Twins are like the really out of a movie that has so many bad things in it. The Twins, to me, really stand out as possibly the worst thing in this entire movie. Or whatever. We'll talk about that in a minute.
And they had to show them different vehicles for them to turn
exactly
into different vehicles.
No, it makes no sense, Rick. I'm glad you brought that up because that's also something Transformers literally can. They showed us that in the first movie. They literally look at something, scan it in 2 seconds, and look like that. They don't need to be spoon-fed. Here is a car that you can turn into. It's just. The whole
Unless
thing
it's the Twins, because they're stupid, I guess.
I guess because they're stupid. I don't really know. Like,
and there's a good reason they're stupid, Rick. You understand that.
Yep. It's not a different time.
So while this whole thing of the plot is going on, John Turturro gets reintroduced as Robo Warrior, and he's been fired. Sector 7 has been dismantled, and he's running his mom's fucking like fish shop in Brooklyn or some weird shit that's going on here.
What the fuck is up with that, guys? That was the stupidest part about this movie, and that is saying a lot. So you mean John Turturro, who's a terrible character but a great actor, who was part of the government, and he was part of a special government fucking agency that dealt with aliens that has become defunct because the aliens have made first contact, and so his only career option is to go and run his mom's fucking fish shop? Like, he doesn't get appointed to the alien task force that's working with them. He doesn't get his government pension. Get the fuck out of here.
Yeah.
Sorry, that really pissed me off.
It literally makes no sense. And then we get literal toilet humor in this movie repeatedly where there's people on toilets shitting. And then we get Jetfire, who is a Decepticon, who is old and got a cane and everything like that, and has kind of had it with the Decepticons in their ways, and ends up with another exposition dump and completely changes the plot of the movie again to go on a completely different trajectory. And farts out a parachute to top it all off.
Yeah.
Come on,
he was a bright spot of this movie until that. Because, and I told you this last night, this guy comes on and goes, "Hey, fuck you! I am a Decepticon! I'm not going to change in anything! I'll help you because I don't like the Decepticons anymore!" And I kind of like that. And then he fucking shat out a parachute. I'm like,
but
okay.
He's a teleportation device.
Oh, but then he has the ultimate hand wave. Let's just appear anywhere.
Why isn't his name like Teleport Fire or Jetport or Tele something? I guess they needed a way to sneak in the fart joke.
Yeah, Rick, it's you're trying to make sense of the senseless. Like it's just it's
because if his name wasn't Jetfire, why would you laugh if he's shit out a parachute, huh? Huh?
That's true. That's true.
So then our heroes are going through Egypt and they're trying to bring back Optimus Prime and everything with an alleged version of the Matrix of Leadership, which looks like some sort of knife or something. And the Decepticons deploy another Devastator. Not the tank that we saw in the first movie that was called Devastator. Actual Constructicons form what is supposed to be Devastator, which is really just a massive monster with a vacuum mouth that literally sucks massive amounts of sand. Now, and I've stated on this, we have different relationships with the Transformers growing up. I've always been a fan since I was a kid. One of my favorite Decepticons has always been Devastator. I love the whole Constructicons formed together, and it was the first one that they ever had that built this really cool robot called Devastator. What the fuck is this? What is this thing? This Devastator that you claim that it is? Oh my God, was it horrible. But the best is yet to come. John Turturro is under Devastator at one point, and of course, one of the vehicles, the construction vehicles, has two balls hanging. And yes, they have to show this, and he has to call on the radio and say, "I am under the enemy scrotum."
Of course he does, because John Turturro is written
Somebody
like a person who's
spent
not a
2 or 3
human
weeks
being.
animating that shit.
Yes, you're both right on both levels. Someone was working after 2 or 3 weeks, and somebody had to go 2 or 3 weeks and animate and put CGI balls on this thing.
Okay, guys, can you picture Michael Bay like, all right, guys, we need the balls bigger. But Mr. Bay, no. That's my vision. We need the balls bigger. Make them bigger. Pew, pew, pew.
And then we're not done yet. In this battle in the desert that's going on here in Egypt, where Nest shows up, which we'll talk about Nest actually towards the end. Why are the parents who were kidnapped by the Decepticons like an hour or two ago in this movie randomly transported and needed to run away? They're there for no purpose whatsoever.
And I'm going to re-ask your question in a more brief way. Why the parents? Why are they in this fucking movie? Who sat through that first piece of shit and went, you know what I want to see, Mother? I want to see more of the Witwicky parents. They were hysterical. They're the fucking worst part of this movie, and that is saying a lot.
It's true.
Wow,
if I could remove the dogs humping or the parents, I would remove the parents before the dogs humping.
There's a lot of things.
Same here. I'll take fucking if you can remove the parents, I will take double the dog humping motif.
Replace the parents with more dog humping.
Every scene that they're supposed to be in, you remove, and you just put dogs humping. I'm in. I'll watch that. I'll fucking watch that and review it again, Ed.
I'm gonna call bullshit on both of you on this one. So then Sam is knocked out, and then he gets the Matrix because the Matrix of leadership is earned completely out of nowhere from the Primes.
I mean, why not? How else would you get the leadership of Matrix?
I guess so. So then Prime is revived with the Matrix of leadership, and Jetfire's just like, hey, take whatever the fuck you want from me. And his parts start randomly jumping onto him. He goes and destroys the Fallen in 2 seconds and kills Megatron or shoots Megatron in the face in 2 seconds. Movie wrapped up, over, villains defeated. It's all good. And then we cut back to this I love you storyline that was peppered throughout, that Sam and Michaela are trying to see who's going to say I love you first, and why that's going on throughout the movie. I have absolutely no idea who was clamoring for this. Movie done. Prime speaking into the air again, like this, on the end of a ship with Sam, Autobots, whoever's out there. Join me. Roll credits.
Autobots, assemble on Earth.
In a perfect world.
Wow.
I really wish the sequel was that the Autobots came to Earth, felt betrayed by Optimus Prime because he didn't get them a new planet, excommunicated him, and decided to take over the planet like the Skrulls, except they were just machines. Come on, that's a better fucking sequel of this piece of shit.
Listen, by as much as we may have banged
Transformers
on
Secret Invasion.
As much as we may have banged on the first Transformers movie, or as I like to call it, Bayformers, that movie looks like The Godfather compared to this movie. I mean, this movie is significantly worse than the first one. And I don't like the first one.
I think this movie was more than anything just impossible to follow.
Which is a bad sign for a movie.
it was impossible to follow. It feels like it was written by like an android that grew up on Earth, but never actually experienced high school or college or dating or any of that stuff.
I said that in the last one that I think that Michael Bay is from a sister planet of Tommy Wiseau.
I'm gonna co-sign that because all the sexual things, it seemed like somebody that's never had sex. All the relationship things, it seems like someone that's never been in a relationship. Like none of this was like none of it was human interaction.
Yeah, it's there's just this is the only positive thing I can say about this movie. There's one positive thing I can actually say.
That it comes to an end.
And actually, Ed, I think we should end with all of us saying one positive thing because I also have one positive thing about this movie.
All right.
No. There's other stuff about the story, but the one positive thing I can say about this movie is I genuinely love the soundtrack of this movie. I actually always have. No, it has Linkin Park, it has Green Day, Stained, Nickelback is on it too, which whatever, but it's better than this movie. Like the soundtrack is a solid soundtrack. And the best thing I got to say about a movie is the soundtrack. Not great.
You name all those bands and you left Rick James off?
Is he on here too?
They had like 2 Rick James songs in there.
Well, let's see the soundtrack. Hold on, I'm gonna go through and see if they even included that on here. I'm gonna imagine no. So we got Linkin Park, Green Day, Cavo, Taking Back Sunday, The Fray, Nickelback, The Used, Theory of a Dead Man, All American Rejects, Hoobastank, Stained, Avenged Sevenfold, and Cheap Trick does this weird version of the Transformers theme from the cartoon that was never used in the movie, and it's really bad. It's really bad.
That's true.
All right, Jason, what did you what's your
all right?
thing
Here's my positive thing about the movie as a Star Trek fan, as a Candyman fan, as a fan of Tony Todd. I got to watch this movie and go, Tony Todd got a paycheck. And I'm just happy that Tony Todd got paid to do this movie because I think he's an awesome actor and he's got a great voice. And hey, sometimes you got to do shit to eat. You know what I'm saying? And so, yeah, Tony Todd got paid. That's why I appreciate this movie.
Rick, is there a positive thing for you to say about this movie? And you just
John
watched it before the show.
Kids were able to get braces because he was in this film. He was able to afford braces for his kids.
So the one thing I also wanted to point out is that the whole Nest military working with the Autobots thing is in the hands of the right writer should have been kind of what we might get with G.I. Joe and the Transformers in the next Transformers movie. The new timeline that we actually like and that is off to a good start 2 movies in, which is already better than the Michael Bay movies. Because remember, this is the second movie in that run, and it has the worst.
Yes.
It has positively its low point. I mean, I've heard things about the 5th one, but I have not seen the one that effectively ended the Michael Bay run. So we'll see, I guess, if it was bad enough to finally put an end to this crap. But I don't know. It just made me think of it now that we got the cliffhanger with G.I. Joe and Transformers. That I don't know. It was a very brief and vague version of what it could be. Not the G.I. Joes treating the Autobots like their pets, though, or their attack dogs, which is what we get in this movie.
Let me throw something out.
We didn't even talk about Mr. Suit USA, who's like, oh, you Autobots, what if the Decepticons are coming here to kill you? And we have no loyalty to you. We could just cut you loose. You should leave. And Optimus is like, if that's what you want, what if you're wrong? Like, that guy is that fucking antagonist is a minor antagonist in this. And it's weird.
So I think the way that they could have rescued this film is when Devastator's like shows up and he's doing all that stuff in Egypt. If Tyrese would have made a phone call and then Vin Diesel and the rest of the Fast franchise shows up and it's all about family.
I mean, Rick,
Just imagine American Muscle running through the desert, taking out Decepticons.
Rick, that's what we get in this movie anyway. That's what Michael Bay thinks these movies are. American Autobots are just American muscle cars that drive through.
He should have just brought the family into it. It would have saved everything.
It couldn't have gotten any worse. It couldn't have gotten any worse. I can say that much. Is this a movie?
This is a movie. Yeah, this is a movie.
This is a movie.
Okay.
There was a script. There were
and I'll tell you
actors,
why.
there was a camera.
Yep. There was a lot of CGI, and I think that really makes a difference. If you put so much thought into CGI, even if it's shitty, which I don't actually think the CGI is shitty, I think it's just like it's dated and the Transformers look shitty, but that's not the CGI's fault. But with such intricate CGI, I think automatically that's a movie. Unless it's a CGI snuff film, in which case it's not a movie.
Okay, fair enough. Is this the worst movie we've covered on Granny's PhD yet?
Yes, it is. And look, I'm sorry, Ed.
Wow.
I've been here for every one of these episodes except for Thor or Jane Has Cancer. I forget the name of the real name of it.
Love and Thunder?
Love and Thunder, thank you. And that was nowhere near. I mean, I liked that movie, so that was not the worst movie we've covered on this. Which means I've been here for all of them. Which means I can accurately tell you, in my opinion, the worst movie we ever covered on this show is The Amazing Spider-Man 2. In my opinion,
I would
This
watch that
fucking-
before I watch this.
me too. This dwarfs that. You put a gun to my head, I'll watch this 6 times before I watch this
Yeah.
fucking movie
And
again.
the runtime
This
also.
movie was painful. It's like
Yeah,
3
no,
hours. Jesus Christ.
This is 2 hours and 40 minutes, and I could have shaved off in about an hour and a half. Easily.
It would have been a better
Just
film
getting
if
rid
they
of
did.
his parents.
Well, I would have cut out the parents. I would have cut out Mojo. I would have cut out creepy chick Decepticon. Wheelie. Let's see. Can't cut out Jetfire.
Twins have to go.
The
Now you got to
twins
keep
have to go.
Jetfire. Come on,
Shia
keep
LaBeouf going
Jetfire.
to Robot Heaven.
Yeah, that's true.
Yes, that's right.
Yeah, I mean, you also could have cut out the scene where Megatron gets revived and flies straight to unknown destination to have a quick conversation with the Fallen, and that we never see it again.
It was. I think the runtime on this film pushes it into that upper echelon of
Awfulness.
shit, because this is
I agree.
the runtime. This is kind of like if we were watching the movie Titanic, but like for the whole runtime of the movie, we're just like watching a guy shovel coal into the fucking furnace. That would have been more entertaining.
All right, so I'm just going to say, Jason, comparatively, because Rick, you have not seen the movie yet, but we opened up talking about Mission Impossible Dead Reckoning Part 1. They both have pretty much the exact same runtime. The runtime felt when watching Transformers Revenge of the Fallen, it feels like a 10-hour movie. And Mission Impossible feels like barely a 2-hour movie.
Like, this is my opinion of it. I was watching Mission Impossible with you last night. I knew it was part 1, so I knew that, like, whatever the end was, it was going to be kind of a cliffhanger, right?
Mm-hmm.
When we got to 2 hours, I started to feel it going, all right, so this is the end, this is the end, this is the end. I wasn't waiting for it to end. I wasn't, like, bored. I was just like feeling the runtime and going, okay, it's going to come to an end soon because I know the nature of what I'm watching. When I watched this movie the other night, when I tell you that I was an hour into this movie and 10 hours of my life had gone by, this movie is so fucking slow. Like literally, I like, however, is this a 3-hour movie? I spent 8 hours watching it. That's how it felt.
Yeah, I apologize to my wife, Angie, and both of my dogs for them being in the room when I watched this movie. Like, that's how much I hate this movie. I despise this movie
No one,
with every fiber of my being.
No one should
Ed
ever
should
watch
have to
this
watch
movie ever under
Terrifier
any
2 for making me watch this movie.
Rick, I didn't know. No, now Rick, remember what was our conversation? No, Rick, what was our conversation earlier today? I said, hey.
Oh, you were talking me out of it.
I was like, hey, if you want to join us for Secret Invasion, we're doing it tonight. But our movie's Transformers. I'm your friend. I love you, Rick. I'm not telling you to watch Transformers Revenge of the Fallen. I did not tell Jason to watch Transformers Revenge of the Fallen. I said,
This is
we're on a
verbatim.
quest together to watch this.
This is verbatim. It's like that. It's like that movie where they're like, "You don't want this," and he's like, "I think I do."
Oh, man.
It was.
I can safely say, and Rick, I told Jason this. I bought this on Blu-ray because I was like, hey, I need to keep my collection together. I took this disc one day and just threw it out my fucking window. I had it.
Best investment you ever made.
Yes,
That was even nice.
it's true. This movie is literally unwatchable, and the biggest offenses it makes is obviously they don't understand the franchise or the characters in any way, shape, or form. But the biggest offense out of all of this,
Proudly, as you pointed out.
yes, repeatedly, because Michael Bay pounds his chest like, I've never seen an episode of Transformers or anything or read anything about it, but I'm the director. This movie's boring. How do you make a fucking movie about transforming alien robots and make it as boring as humanly possible? I mean, am I wrong on this? Like, it's a boring movie.
You make it as long as The Godfather and as long as fucking Titanic, and then you have nothing happen in it. I mean, there's explosions.
Yeah. But still, that's it. It's a Michael Bay movie. Of course there's explosions.
Those explosions could have been anything.
It could have been anything. It could have been the explosion of the parachute out of Jetfire's ass, literally. All right. Well, gentlemen, the good news is this. And Rick, obviously, this is a mission, if you choose to accept it, is next week we'll be talking Transformers Dark of the Moon. Now, from what I recall, and I did see Dark of the Moon in the theater, and that was the last one I saw in the theater until Bumblebee, because the 4 and 5 I skipped. That movie I recall being a step up from this, but still not great. It was at least better than this. I would be shocked if I come back next week saying it's not.
And I'm going to say this. We've been talking a lot about The Godfather, and you understand that this isn't personal, right? This is just business. But, I mean, can you get me out of this for old time's sake?
I don't know. I mean, Jason, it is also a mission 120 episodes ago that you chose to accept.
I did. I was given the option. I took the option.
Exactly. You took the option. The recording disintegrated 5 seconds later.
That's right.
I actually recently rewatched the first Mission Impossible. I'm forgetting what the guy says to fucking Tom Cruise, where he goes, "This mission is something," and then Tom Cruise goes, "This mission's impossible." Fuck! What did the guy say? It was Ving Rhames.
Oh,
shit! Is Ving Rhames in that first one? Does he go back that far from the first one?
It's only Tom Cruise and Ving Rhames are the only two.
It is Ving Rhames, right? He's the computer guy in the first one, right?
He's in every single one.
Is. I
computer guy
forgot that he was in that first one.
Yep.
Holy shit! Good Ving Rhames getting himself some Mission Impossible money.
Yeah. Oh man. All right, so that pretty much wraps it up for us this week. Thanks for joining us, as always. If you joined us on the Facebook live stream, be sure to check out Granny's Peachy's Facebook group and check out all the cool trailers and stories that don't make the show every week. Because as we learned early on, the show would be about 10 hours long. So check that out. Pop Culture Pros, check out popculturepros.com, because that's what we're presented by. If you're checking us out on YouTube, subscribe to Pop Culture Pros. Twitter, follow at Pop Culture Pros. Instagram, Pop Culture Pros. And wherever you found your audio-only podcast, if that's how you're joining us, subscribe to Pop Culture Pros. There's a bunch of cool stuff on the network that we have. If you're into baseball, you can check out the Empire 161 show with myself and Lisa. We have a new episode out right now. So during the All-Star break, before the second half, you can check that episode out. Jason, any word on Double O Deep Dive? The almost finale?
We're coming back, and all let's do is when I fix my computer. That's all. Like my computer broke, and all of my login information is on there, and I just have to fix it. So it's coming back. Like I got to call Ving Rhames. I got to call Simon Pegg, but you know what? I'm not going to call. I'm not going to call Tom Cruise because he might be too busy. You know what I mean?
It's true. He is a little bit busy these days. So go ahead and check that out, and we'll see you guys next week. We'll be talking episode 5 of Secret Invasion, as well as Transformers Dark of the Moon, the third of the Michael Bay era. Jason's coming down with a sickness a week in advance. And we also will be talking about My Adventures with Superman, which I'm sure we'll have 2 episodes to talk about at that point. So see you guys next week. Peace.